Leanne, I'm sorry. Marcelina, we're seeing your green background.
I'm gonna lay down my heavy load down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Lay down my heavy load down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I ain't gonna study war no more, no, 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 study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Don't you know I'm gonna meet my loving mother down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Meet my loving mother down by the riverside, down by the riverside.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being on time. We're going to get started. Um, we would like to start with our preamble and shared commitments, and I will hand over to Lena and Josh to do that.
Hello, everyone. Here is our preamble. WestStaff shares a fundamental and abiding commitment to equity, accessibility, inclusion, and belonging. We recognize and greatly appreciate the extraordinary contributions of our team and the impact we seek to have in our communities in the West and beyond. We understand that trust is built slowly with communities we wish to serve that have experienced generational betrayal and trauma. Our shared commitments provide a grounding for generating spaces of trust and safety within our team and in the communities we seek to serve through our work. We are dedicated to seeing these commitments reflected in our work over time consistently.
Shared commitments. We value humility, learning from our mistakes, and asking questions to gain deeper understanding. We feel empowered to hold one another accountable, establish boundaries, and ask each other for help. We lean into discomfort by facing challenges and conflict with openness and grace. We stay present by listening actively, being mindful of body language, and participating to the fullest of our ability. We share from our own experiences and grow as a team through the inclusion of every individual voice. We prioritize accessibility and are mindful of our language in ensuring belonging for all. And now I'm going to hand it back over to Josh Ellis to share our Zoom norms.
Thank you, Elena. Please keep your microphone muted when not speaking. That's located in the far left corner. Please rename yourself to your first name, your city or town, and your state or jurisdiction abbreviation. And there's an example right there. Click on Participants, hover over your name, and click the More button to change. To ask questions or make comments, please use the Raise Hand function or write your question in the chat at any time. Click on Reactions in the middle of your screen and choose Raise Hand, or click on Chat in the middle of your screen to write your question or comment. Live transcripts, closed captions are turned on. You can view or hide them, change the size, as well as other functions by using the up arrow on live transcript, which is either in the middle of your screen or behind the More button with the 3 dots on the right side of your screen. And now I'll turn it back over to Anika to go over our session outline.
Thank you, Josh. So our goals and outcomes for today are to ensure that this program, the Cultural Sustainability Initiative, is informed by the perspectives of those in our region whom we intend to serve. Today, we want to gather feedback on our program design. We want to explore your thoughts on the eligibility criteria, the application process, and overall program structure. We want to, very importantly, harness your experience. By you sharing experiences as arts organizations of color, you will be able to directly contribute to shaping this program that addresses the well-being of the organizations and the communities that you serve. Okay, and so now we will get ready to do some introductions. And I am Anika Tanay, and I'm the Director of Grants, Awards, and Programs at WestStaff. Good to see some familiar faces and some new faces. We have a bit of a prompt for today, and that prompt is what brings you joy today? And I will say for me, what brings me joy, I've just been in the process of moving, so it's still chaos here. So apologies for the screen off. But that said, it's a little less chaos than it was earlier today. And that definitely brings me joy. My living room is getting organized and my TV is up and it's starting to feel a little bit like home. So I will hand over to Josh to share, to introduce himself, and then Lena, and then Ashanti, and then if you'll hand back to me. And I want to introduce our facilitator. And then the reason I put the prompt in the chat is because we'll be turning over to all of you to respond. So over to you, Josh.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Josh Ellis. I'm the Grants and Inclusion Manager at WestStaff. And my role in this session will be more behind the scenes facilitation, highlighting questions and any other support needed. And in terms of the overall program that you're going to be giving feedback on, I was a part of the core team to help solidify those guiding principles and the shared national fundamental elements of this program. And during this session, my camera may also be off, but please feel free to use me as a resource. ping me or private message me if you need any assistance. And what brings me joy is this warm weather we are having. I'm just outside of Washington, D.C., and the sun is shining. It's about 86 degrees right now, and the sun is still up in the air. So I like how the sun is just continuing throughout the evening. It puts a smile on my face and keeps my spirits high. And I'll turn it over to Marcelina.
Thanks, Josh. Hello, my name is Marcelina or Lina Ramirez. I am the Grants Awards and Programs Coordinator here at WestStaff. I'm super excited to be here with everyone today. My role in this is I will have my camera off. I'll be facilitating Zoom and any technical needs that are needed throughout this, as well as helping Josh with facilitating questions in the chat. So if you need anything from me or you're having some technical abilities, can't hear, need help with closed captionings, please do let me know. I will also be the timekeeper today, so I will be informing Yvonne of when we are running out of time, etc. And then just as a reminder, we are keeping it to, we'll get to this a little bit later, but we are keeping it to one question, one answer per person so that everybody has time to go. And then if we still have time, someone else will get to answer again. What brings me joy? My best friend is getting engaged this weekend, and so I'm so excited to see her and celebrate with her this weekend. And she's been my best friend since childhood, so I'm super excited to celebrate with her this weekend. So I will now pass it on to Ashanti.
Thank you so much, Lena. This is my name is Ashanti McGee. I use she, they pronouns, and I am the Grant and Access Manager. I will probably have my camera off at sometimes. I'm really here to observe, learn more about some of the work that you're doing and some of the responses that you'll have, and just provide any additional support if needed. Thank you. And and what brings me joy also is similar to what Josh said. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I was really enjoying the cool air for a while, and now that's done. And so I'm enjoying the warm weather and the sunshine. So, and back to Anika.
Thanks so much, Ashanti. Thanks, everyone. And I would just love to introduce our facilitator for this evening. I think on the next slide is Yvonne Shand O'Neill, and she is our roundtable facilitator. And I just want to say this is our fourth, second to the last roundtable, and you're just in for a treat in terms of how Yvonne just facilitates and just engages everyone. And just want to thank you, Yvonne, for all that you've contributed thus far. But please feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Anika. Hi, everyone. My name is Yvonne Chandler-Neal, and I am a cognitive scientist. I study creativity, and before founding Muse Research, I was founding director of research and evaluation at the Kennedy Center. I live in Washington, D.C., and what brings me joy? I get to have a girls' weekend with my 15-year-old daughter. And I am just all about it. I'm ready to plan the snacks and our matching PJs, and we're going to a hotel. It's like a thing. So I'm really excited about it. And that's what brings me joy this weekend. So back to you, Nika.
Love it. I might have to copy you.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask each of you to kind of share who you are and what brings you joy. And I'm just going to go alphabetically in the participants according to the order that I have. So first up will be Colin, then Dio, then Maritza, Norma, Ricky, and then Yvonne. So over to you, Colin. Oh, Colin is one of our guests, observers. Sorry about that, Colin. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No problem.
But please feel free to introduce yourself because you're the only observer today.
Oh, yeah, sure. My name is Colin Brayman. I am a research associate working with Dr. Yvonne John O'Neill at Muse Research, and I will be taking notes today. And something that brings me joy. I saw Dune 2 for the third time last night. Yeah, I really enjoyed that, so I highly recommend it.
Right on. Okay.
I've heard that you are successfully defending your dissertation, but anyway, that's you're just happy it's over, I'm sure. Okay.
Yes, for
Uh,
sure.
Dio, over to you.
Yes, hi. My name is Dayo Ayodele, and I'm here in Boise, Idaho. I'm the producing artistic director of Global Lounge, and what brings me joy? I'm really glad that a lot of things are moving along for Global Lounge this year, including participating in this forum. So I'm pretty happy to see things moving in the right direction for us.
Wonderful. Thank you. Maritza.
I am Maritza Perez from Afromundo. I'm located in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And what brings me joy today is my 70-pound dog, Suli the Sultan, who really thinks he's a sultan. He takes every pillow in the house, and he's the perfect combination of every breed. He's 70 pounds and has a curly, cute tail. So you can imagine where he got that from, but he's bringing me joy today.
Love it. Thank you. Norma.
Hello, everyone. My name is
Hello.
Norma. I am the president of Oaxaca in Utah. We are a nonprofit organization here in Utah. And our mission is to share and celebrate the beautiful culture of Oaxaca state in Mexico, here in the United States. And what brings me joy is sharing my culture with everybody. Today, especially, I had the opportunity to go and show what we do, dancing and traditions, to this beautiful preschool here in Utah. And it was just a joy to see all the children coming and trying to learn the language, trying to dance and trying to have fun. So that I love sharing the culture, and that brings me joy, not just today, but every time.
Thank you, Norma. Ricky.
Hi, my name is Ricky. I'm with Los Descendientes. I'm the president for Los Descendientes and also the co-director for the Mexican American Museum, which Los Des runs. It's a little confusing. And the thing that brings me joy is, well, something I'm looking forward to. I don't get a lot of full days off anymore. So I have a video game day scheduled for this Sunday where we're just going to eat dessert and play video games all day. And that's kind of an exciting thought.
That's amazing. Love it. Scheduled fun. Okay, Yvonne.
Hi,
Yvonne
everyone.
Kim.
Yvonne, I know there's two Yvonnes,
There's
which is
two
so rare.
Yvonnes.
So
I know.
hi, Yvonne with an I.
Hi,
I'm Yvonne with the Y. I'm Yvonne Montoya. I am based in Tucson, Arizona. I'm originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico, so Southwest. And I'm the founding artistic director of Sophos Dance Theater, that is based in Tucson. And my company is currently touring, so it was a very busy April. I'm glad to be grounded in May and not traveling. And the thing that brings me joy is my family, and they may be popping in later during this meeting. So I'll mute or go off camera if they start, behind me, distracting me. So it's nice to see you all.
Love it. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you for those introductions. We would now like to provide, I know that we've provided you with roundtable materials, and I'm sure you all have had a chance to glance at those, but we just want to take you through quickly some important aspects of the program just as a refresher. So what is this initiative? So Cultural Sustainability Initiative is a program created and being created by West staff and our counterparts across the nation, the other 5 regional arts organizations, and the Wallace Foundation, who is the funder. The program aims to support arts organizations of color, arts organizations led by and serving communities of color. The goal in Wallace as a research organization Their goal is to really understand how organizations of color support their own well-being and the well-being of their communities. So in terms of who can participate, and this really ties to the definition of arts organizations of color that you've seen in the slide deck and the short video. Arts organizations that are nonprofit or for-profit with budgets under $500,000 and a minimum of 3 years of programming. Organizations must also primarily serve communities of color and be led by people of color. And if it sounds like I've been redundant, we've said we're trying to really focus in on for, and by, right? Led by. What does the program offer? So there's several components. It is grants, it is learning communities, in-person retreats, regular support, and research. So the research side really comes from Wallace and the team of researchers that they have contracted to answer that research question that I mentioned earlier. Regular support is coming from West staff, checking in kind of monthly. How are you? How are things going? And any coaches that we might contract to support you all. In-person retreats. These are gatherings for wellness, collaboration, and sharing knowledge across the cohort. Learning communities will meet virtually, quarterly, in smaller groups for sharing ideas, for problem solving, and for network building. And then the grants are, at this point, we're looking at up to $34,000 per organization. And our goal is to fund at least or up to 2 organizations per state and jurisdiction. Y'all know that we have 16 states and jurisdictions in our region, and that includes the Pacific jurisdictions of Guam, American Samoa, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. And then how to apply. There's going to be a 2-step process. So part 1, which will open on May 20th, is designed to collect some basic information, some quantitative information. We would like organizations to provide essential details about their organizations and the communities they serve. We don't want this to be a heavy lift. We want it to be the things that you already know about your organization. Part 2 will be more about the impact that you're having. So this will be more narrative questions and be asking organizations to explain the benefit, how the organization benefits the community and how this program would help to deepen further that work. And we should mention that our intention is that when we launch, after we launch part 1, even if folks are not invited back, because part 2 is by invitation, we are going to make part 2 available during the phase of part 1 so that everyone, for transparency, and everyone knows the questions that are going to be asked so that there's time to get the information and plan with your teams, volunteers, board, whoever it may be. So today, what we want is your feedback. We are absolutely serious about this. We're having these sessions to gather your input, to shape the program's design, to learn from you. We have our ideas, but we know that you are the ones on the ground working in community. That said, there is some structure in place, so it doesn't mean we're going to overhaul everything, but we're looking for themes that come across all of these roundtables that we've been holding and nuances that may come out for your specific state or area that you're in. And there are a few different states represented tonight, so we look forward to that. So as Lena is our timekeeper, and as Lena mentioned, and I'm sure Yvonne is going to mention again, we're just wanting to make sure that we look at our airtime and make sure everyone has time to share. And Yvonne may call on you. And so I will hand over to Yvonne to get started with part 1 of our session.
Thank you. Hi again. Well, as Anika said, we're all friends. And so I am going to take the liberty of maybe calling on you just to keep the conversation moving. We're really excited about hearing from all of you. And it's so important that we get this representation so that we can really meet the needs of as many organizations as possible. So that's why we so value your feedback today. So we're going to start with a question that is very near and dear to all of you, which is about the concept of community collaboration and how you collect feedback from the community. So our question is, how are you addressing your community's needs and interests through your work? And how has community support directly contributed to your organization's success? And the question, I believe, is also in the chat, so it will be soon. And it's number 20, if that helps. So how are you addressing your community's needs and interests through your work? And how has community support directly contributed to your organization's success? Who would like to start? Please, Maritza.
I'll start because we just recently finished the Afromundo Festival, which was an 8-day ordeal for me, but pleasure for everybody else. But I really appreciate that question because Afromundo would not exist if not for community collaboration, meaning we're in our 3rd year. If our budget this year is going to be 150,000, that would be a lot. And we bring people from multiple countries to have Afro-diasporic conversations through multiple mediums, whether it's film or music, et cetera, all to say all the venues are provided in kind. And we collaborate with multiple venues to present in different communities to have equal access to multiple communities. There are other nonprofits that bus in audiences from throughout New Mexico. There are volunteers who drive each of the about 30 presenters coming in from multiple countries to and from the airport, to and from venues, to and from Santa Fe to explore, meaning it just would not be possible. And it's really essential to be able to collaborate and how we do our programs. For example, people were so impacted because it's not just Afromundo's idea is that art is narrative, and therefore there should be a dialogue. It shouldn't be just artists getting to present and share their perspectives, because narratives affects every aspect of our lives. So in every event and presentation, the audience gets to converse, have dialogue with the presenters. And I say that because that's a very effective way of feeling out the audience for whether or not we're doing what needs doing. And there's a hunger in this time that there's a pandemic of isolation, of where our narratives are being shut out from libraries and schools, and to have multiple conversations within community. And the community has been so impacted because they want more than just celebratory events like Kwanzaa or Cinco de Mayo, which are the easy ways in which cities always want to present our culture or history. They want dialogue, they want in-depth. And I say that because if this is a grant for arts, I want that definition of art to be quite broad, because it is not just about presenting visual arts and song and dance. It's like all arts is narrative. So, that narrative can be, for example, art wellness and the art of journaling, which allows a community to be able to, I don't care if it's whether through poetry or doodling in a journal or making lists, whatever, that is art because it's communicating and it's expressing in community. So I just wanted to make sure that the definition of art is a little broader and not just the traditional sense of what art is specifically for BIPOC communities.
Thank you, Marita. Thank you. Someone else, what else do you think about that question? And I can ask that again. How are you addressing your community's needs and interests through your work? And how has community support directly contributed to your organization's success?
I can go next.
Please.
Yeah. Our organization here in Boise, Idaho, first of all, Idaho is a resettlement state. So it's one of the states where they bring the people that I refer to, or we refer to in our organizations as the new Americans, people from the war-torn areas. So we get a lot of people from Africa, Middle East, and then even Ukraine as well this year, and Afghanistan. So yeah, what our organization has always done is pretty much a thoughtful cultural preservation for all these communities, because there's really no organization that does what we do in the state of Idaho, to say the least. We're a nonprofit, and it's I mean, still the smallest one, and actually we were nominated the cultural ambassador for the city of Boise, the smallest organization that was ever nominated for that. And what we do is like we pretty much provide the platform for these people to express themselves through the culture that they come with, and through celebrations of their culture. And what we do, we try to even what I don't want to use the word attack, but things two sides, two prongs, by bringing the host community, the pretty much the indigenous Idahoans, because Idaho is a very monoculture state for a long time, till about a few years ago. So the things that Global Lounge has been doing is pretty much building inroads to some of these community to kind of protect and preserve, create a safe place for the BIPOC community here. And for us, how we've been able to kind of leverage the communities is that the city of Boise has been pretty resourceful for us, because they want Boise to be a livable community. Also, we have Micron here, which is a big tech company, but then most of their employees are from outside the United States. So we're what we do is really important. And but again, how we is pretty much bringing the other communities in to help us that are more open or liberal to what Global Lounge is about, like the YMCA. We've been able to kind of work with them. Even sometimes they will call us to come and do cultural kids program for them, because they don't know how to handle all these young immigrants from other countries. And then also places like the what we call the Title I elementary schools here, where for the underserved communities, we go there and do things for them. And but it's also been a challenge, because Global Lounge is still fully volunteer basis, but we're very passionate about what we do. So every funds that we get, we use it to provide things that the community needs, rather than trying to get a paid staff. We've been able to get a building, which actually some of the West staff folks came to Boise, Idaho. I think Chris Gaines was able to come and see and meet some of our community, the people that we serve. So that's what we've been doing, because we feel that those things are very important. And the reason why is because of most of these other bigger organizations, they tend to be a little I don't want to say it in a bad way, but not as tolerating to some of these people. So a lot of them didn't have a places to meet or together to do things. But what we've done is find a space where people can do cultural practices from their home, from the country, and those kind of things. So that's how we've been able, but we always just reach out to community, the organizations that are able, that wants to help. And that's how we've been able to kind of maintain or sustain the organization.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Ricky, it looks like, do you have something you want to add?
So for ours, we started something new this year called Charlas or Talks. And so we thankfully got a grant to redo our house, but in doing that, it's also given us a chance to rethink our programming because we really act more as a cultural and art center, like as a gathering space than as just like a traditional, how you think of as a museum. And I think that language when we were created wasn't quite in the space that it is at now in 2024. And so this year we decided to do these charlas. And so that's in the case of like people who are in our organization already, bringing them here and saying, here's kind of the plans. What do you think about this? And what do you want to see? Like if we had unlimited funding, what would you want in this space? And listening to their feedback, because I think it's a lot easier to like try to get funding for what people already want than to create these programs and hope that people show up. And also in part of that, it's going out to other places. We are surrounded by barrios, so neighborhoods, and going into those spaces and saying like, what do you want? What do you think is missing? What would you like to see? I mean, I think in that way, we've gotten a lot of feedback of like exhibits to have for when we reopen or programming that we want to have. And we've also heard feedback just by hosting events here. We had a movie night where we showed Selena. That was really exciting. A lot of people came out and just listening to what people were saying at that event with open ears and not as a like, if people are giving feedback, like it's not coming from a place of like trying to be super critical about it. That's just like, maybe how can we do better? How can we make sure this goes smoother next time? And in terms of how has community directly support contributed to that, contributed to our success, we are lucky to have what's called the Budget de la Gente grant. So one of the ward offices here got some funding, and then they opened it up so anybody could submit for grants, and then the community voted on what they wanted to see funded. So from that, we ended up getting $20,000 worth of grants to do youth programming and put in a Native American exhibit for when we reopen. So the support of the community is there, and like they're willing to back us and vouch for us. I think that's also really important because it's helping us as we're starting to partner with other organizations. And I think that is another big part of the community. It's not just like the members of the community, it's also the other organizations that make up the community. And one of them had phrased it as like, we don't have a lot in terms of like money, so all we can really do is help support each other. And that has been a really important network for us this year too.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Ricky. Yvonne. Feels weird to say my name, but yes, please.
Yeah, I know. So Southwest Dance Theater serves different communities with 3 different programs that we have. And for the most part, they run concurrently, but sometimes they don't because we're a very small org and we need to give most of our love to one project or another. So the 3 projects we have are Stories from Home, Dance in the Desert, and Las Fronterizas. And again, we focus predominantly on Southern Arizona, but also the larger Southwest. So Las Fronterizas is a collaboration between an organization in Douglas, Arizona, Phoenix, and then us in Tucson. And we do a lot of work on the US-Mexico border. And so our predominant audience there is a binational audience in the Agua Prieta and Douglas community. And we, in terms of that program, before we create and devise with community, and it's multidisciplinary art, so it's dance, theater, digital art. We spend up to 2 years sometimes embedded in the community doing interviews, asking what they want to see, what narratives they want represented, how they want the stories of the community represented, and then the cast members for those performances, which are binational on both sides of the border wall, in Mexico and in the US are made up of artists from the communities. So they're the ones that are performing and we co-create with them. So that takes a lot of time, a lot of investment, a lot of weekends spent over and over, months and months on end in Douglas, building that community. With Dance in the Desert, that brings together 3 communities in Arizona: Phoenix, which is a large metropolitan, Tucson, which is mid-size, and again, Douglas, because we have connections there with Fronterizas, which is a small rural border community. And those are Latina dance artists across genres. So we have flamenco artists, we have breaking artists, we have contemporary dancers, right? We bring them together and we do a survey and focus groups at the beginning of every gathering and say, what do you need? What are we interested in? How can we best serve the community? And then based on the information we get from the participants, we devise our annual programming. And so one year the choreographers were saying, we don't have a space to create artistic risk because there's not a lot of commissioning happening in Arizona. So we just provided the choreographers space in place. And then we heard from the dancers a year after that. That was fun. We got to dance for these choreographers, but now we want dance. So then the next year we did a series of 8 master classes, bilingual on the border. So we go different communities. So we do surveys, intake forms, exit forms, and dancers can't leave. The dancers that are part of the cohort can't leave until they fill out the survey. And then we ask community members while they're there. And then we also do focus groups, kind of so we're constantly collecting data. And then with Stories from Home, that's our touring project. That's a big project we're focusing the most energy on right now. That's nationally touring. So it's a little bit different because we partner with presenters who will bring us to perform in different places around the country. And so they have their own data collection. So we're a little bit beholden to them and what they need. But the work centers Stories of the Southwest, although predominantly New Mexico, because I'm originally from northern New Mexico. So really getting the feedback from people from those communities when they see the work, those responses, the emails that we get from people that see the show and feel so moved to email us afterwards, or immediately after we perform, we go into the lobby, we'll get feedback. The feedback we get from presenters, that's a bit different because the work is set. So we get feedback, we don't change it at this point in time. It is a set work. But that story was based on my family's experiences, and in the creation of that work through the artistic process, we would have work in progress showings, and that is when we would invite community members to come in and give feedback on the work. So we did have feedback earlier in the creative process. It's just now it's in the performance mode, so we're not really doing that. But each of these projects allow us to serve different communities in different capacities, and we wouldn't be in the position that we're in without our community, because they're telling us, this is how you can best serve us. This is how we need to grow. This is how we would like you to invest time and energy into growing these networks. And that by investing in our community and resourcing our community, we have then started to see the fruits of that labor and growth within it. So one of our goals is to uplift the dance community in Arizona and the Southwest at large. And we do that by hiring and paying dancers so they don't leave to, LA or New York to get jobs, right? Because then there's a drain, the talent leaves. And so by casting dancers in this region on this touring project, they stay in the community. And now in the Phoenix area, one of the dancers who attended Dance in the Desert for all those years is starting her own little version of it that's launching this weekend, but just for Phoenix community, but targeting the hip hop community. So we could see the seeds of what's happening start to, right? And it's all interconnected because we're paying that dancer to tour with us. So she doesn't have to move to LA. She can stay in Arizona and do that work. So it's connected in this very important ecosystem. Capturing all of that and explaining it in like a limited 200 word count grant application is really challenging to do. So that's part of the challenge, but that's the work we do. That's all interconnected, and without our community input, we would not be where we are.
Well, we're going to talk about that shortly, but I do want to hear, so thank you, Yvonne. I'd love to hear from Norma, and then we'll move to the next question. Norma, do you have something you'd like to add? You're on mute, actually.
Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate the question, and the reason why is because Oaxaca in Utah, it's a wonderful organization. It's very supportive to the community and from the community. And I wrote a couple things, and forgive me, English is my second language, and I'm trying my best, right? But if not, hopefully somebody there speaks Spanish and they can help me translate too. Okay, so the way that Oaxaca in Utah addresses the community needs is with 4 things that I wrote down. The first one is by welcoming the people to the community, to our organization. Oaxaca in Utah is not just about Oaxacan people, from the state of Oaxaca, but also we welcome people from everywhere. We have people from Venezuela, we have people from Peru, we have people from Colombia, people from, of course, from Mexico. We also have people right now from Africa and also from Tonga, right? And we just are very happy because this organization, we open our arms, right? Brazos abiertos to the community, and we just want people to come and feel welcome, and also be able to, to learn about Oaxaca, but mainly to discover who they are, where they come from, and how wonderful it feels to be proud of where you come from. So it's just beautiful to do that. And also Oaxaca in Utah loves sharing the culture, and also allows people to share also the culture with us, right? Because we love our culture, we love our our food, our traditions, our textiles, dialects, and everything that we have. Oaxaca, it's a beautiful state that has so many diversity. And I'm very emotional about Oaxaca in Utah because, sorry.
That's okay. Okay.
Oaxaca in Utah for me, it's my family.
Yes.
I left Oaxaca when I was little, and then I came to Wisconsin. And from Wisconsin, I moved here to Utah. And I was just missing my family. I was missing my mom, my dad, the food, the fiestas, everything from there. And when I came to Utah, I started looking for the people from Oaxaca.
Yes.
And I have been very blessed because I have seen miracles, from people. I've seen so many wonderful blessings, and I'm just grateful because for me, sharing my culture is sharing my family. And this is what Oaxaca in Utah is all about. It's about welcoming families and sharing the traditions and everything that we have, because, especially because we come from another country and we are just, people of color, and we have an accent, right? And we're dark. And it's just, I love the United States because, this is where I live, but also I still miss my culture. And that's why for me, it's very important to share it with the community. And I'm grateful because Oaxaca in Utah has been a blessing for many people. And it's just, I just wanted to share that when we first started Oaxaca in Utah, it's been for a while, but in 2020 is the first time that Oaxaca in Utah put a festival, for the community. And it was during the pandemic time, right? And we just have 30 people that came to that festival. And it was wonderful. And we say we need to open it to the community so they can come and they can learn about us. 2021 is when we had 500 people coming to the festival. And it was wonderful, right? And we say we need to continue doing it. 2022, we got 7,000 people showing up to the festival. And this happens every July here in Caseville, which is one of the areas where there is not that many Latinos or, color people. Last year, 2023, we got 15,000 people showing up to the festival. And it was just wonderful to see because there was people who came from Idaho, people from Vegas, people from Arizona, Texas, coming just for this festival. And we're a small nonprofit organization. We're just taking baby steps because I don't know how to manage a nonprofit. And it's just, I'm learning every time, and I'm just grateful because every day for me is an opportunity to learn about, how I can manage this nonprofit and be able to bless my life, but also bless the community. And the community is there, like we don't have a big budget. We have very little funds, but we have done this festival thanks to the community because community care about their culture. And it's just wonderful to see a lot of Americans coming, many people coming. Last year, with this many people showing up, it was the hottest day here in Utah, 102, 102. Yeah, that was so hot, right? 102 degrees hot, but everybody show up and it was through the whole day. So right now we're getting prepared for this festival, and it's just, again, I see those blessings, and it's just every time I'm just humbled to share that. For me, I'm very proud to be from Oaxaca. I'm very proud to have all these these opportunities to share where I come from, and just I'm grateful for for this opportunity to share it with you too. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Norma. Thank you to all of you. We are going to now talk a little bit, and I mean, the passion that I can't move forward without talking about this, because it is so clear that each one of you is so passionate about the work you do and this community that you're building, and we're trying to create this mega community by putting you all together. Do you know what I mean? So that's what these conversations are about. So sharing resources, talking about how to create, spaces where you can combine forces to get more things done. So that's what this is all about. So thank you so much for sharing, really. So next, we want to talk about program design and eligibility. Now, if you have something you'd like to say about this, also feel free to put it in the chat. I want to make sure that you're able to say what you'd like to, but not everyone has to speak if you don't have necessarily something to say about this. Also feel free to put it in the chat. Now, do you feel, you saw the definition of arts organizations of color that Anika shared with you earlier. And I think, Lena, if you don't mind putting it again in the chat, do you feel that this definition of an arts organization of color accurately reflects the organizations you know and work with? So do you feel that the definition of arts organizations of color used in this grant competition is accurately reflective of the organizations you know and work with? What do you think about that? Does it capture who you're working with?
And Yvonne, we're going to get that in the chat again so we can refer back to it.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe, Lena, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
I'm
you
getting
mean,
it in there.
oh, okay.
Thank you. So, and that
Yvonne M, you meant the definition, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
thanks.
I think I know what it says, but I just want to
sure.
make sure before I answer.
And it can be a kind of a yes and no. It can be like, what do you need more of? What do you need a little less of? How inclusive do you feel it is? That's what we're asking here. What do you think? Deo, it looks like you have something to say. Am I saying your name correctly?
Dio, yeah.
Dio, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, because I was just kind of trying to refresh my memory.
Sure.
Again. Yes.
Of course. Yes, take your time.
On first glance, I'm looking at the last bullet that was shared in the chat. Organizations must also primarily serve communities of color and be led by people of color. I think for me, the last component of it, led by people of color, is really key, because sometimes I see a organization like, I don't know, I'm just gonna make something up. This is not them, but like the United Way. And they have this one program that's like arts, right? And they want to serve a certain XYZ community with it. And so they'll apply for it, and their leadership isn't reflective. Maybe they hired one token person to run it, but it's not actually doing the work that like the orgs here in this call are doing. It's completely different, but they're competing for the same funding and usually get it. So I think that that is important. I'm curious if it will be teased out even further what it means led by people of color. I know with NALAC, the National Association for Latino Arts and Culture, they have a stipulation that like 51% of the board needs to be Latine, right? So I'm curious if that is being considered in terms of, or like how much of the staff, you know, is it the board, is it the director? Because I think like, I'm trying to remember what we do with it. I know it's 51% of the board. And then I think like also a percentage of the staff
Yeah.
also needs
Well, one
to
thing-
meet a certain thing.
One thing
So
to
I'm curious
consider-
about that.
Sure. We're also talking about communities you serve. So 2 of the 3 criteria need to be met in order to qualify. So that's another thing to think about in terms of the definition. You know, are you serving communities of color? Are you, are you led by a community, members of the communities of color? They're 2 of the 3 criteria. So that's also helpful, I'm hoping, in terms of how you conceptualize this, ask, what's being asked of you. So I'm sorry, Dayo, you were going to
Yes,
say
no, I was
something.
just going to say this captured what Global Lounge is about, really, because it was founded by a person of color, which was me, and 3 other members of the community who've left the organization. They're all from Africa, and then it's led by people of color. It's served primarily people of color. Just we do,
Right.
yes.
So for you, it does. What about
Yeah.
Maritza? What are you thinking? How does this definition feel?
I think that it should be more than 50%. And the reason I say that, there are so many amazing small organizations. For example, Hearing Everything Norma was saying.
Right.
That reminds me of the struggles that Afromundo has faced, meaning small organizations started by passionate people who see a need in the community and take on a massive job of supporting the community artistically and culturally without any funds. And those funds are hard to come by because, as Norma said, we may not have the expertise or the connections. And I would just love it if there is some way that within this grant to give an equal opportunity to organizations that are grassroots and really doing at ground level the hard work of reaching out to community, not just presenting programs of color. Here's one Black exhibit, here's a Latino exhibit or an Asian exhibit. Oh, we're going to present a Native American dance group. That is not serving the community. That's just for consumption. It has to be what serves the purposes of the community.
Can I press on that 1 second, Maritza? I appreciate that very much. And you and I have had many conversations about this. So I'm going to ask questions that we've had in our conversations. And that is, what language, what criteria can we pull from what you just said to make that very clear, in these sorts of competitions, that it has to serve the community? What needs to be said, do you think? Because I think that's going to come up in another question, but this might be a good time to talk about it.
I'm going to give way to the other Yvonne because she seems to have an answer while I mull it over.
Please.
Yeah, I appreciate what Maritza said. And to be clear, I think that NALAC, the percentage is 51%. So it's 1% over the 50. But I agree with everything Maritza just said. And maybe it's like, can they demonstrate year-round commitment? So again, it's not like, oh, it's Cinco de Mayo, let's throw a mariachi and call it a day. Like, what's the year-round commitment to community served? So not just, the demographics, because they could pull that off a website, but so there's continued sustained commitment to communities served would be the first step, I think, in capturing that it's not just a one-off, but it's something that's happening consistently.
And who determines?
Okay, maybe I'm missing something here, because I thought that's what this meant as well. What is said here, that it's serving people of color. So I'm thinking it's all year round and it's serving. So I'm not sure, because maybe I'm misunderstanding, or we all have different perception or meaning of what this means to each person. So,
and I think what the group is, the consensus seems to be, is that it is about the consistency. It's not just a one-off. you know, it is about saying that you're providing this kind of programming
Oh, you're
more
right.
than just one time for the community of color that you aim to serve, your target audience. And more than one time a year is what they're saying. That consistency needs to be demonstrated somehow in the
Oh.
application question, you know? That's,
I think,
Can
I think I just want to say, Dio, maybe you want to push back a little bit because I
Oh.
know that you run a festival. So, and obviously that's a lot of work for the whole year. So, you know,
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I was wondering because you know, I mean, we do a festival once a year. It's the marquee event that even the city of Boise supports, where every culture, we call it World Village actually, where everybody comes to. And I mean, it's not something that, you know, even though it's a 3-day event or how many days, actually we're thinking about expanding in the future to 5 days or all week, but it's still a lot of work for a whole year to bring all the communities in there. So that's why you know, again, it's not, you know, I'm not Cinco de Mayo here or this, that, you know, so it depends on, you know, that's why I'm saying that maybe I'm misunderstanding what they're saying, but
No, you're not.
okay.
You're not.
Okay, so some things just take a whole year.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. And that is, we need to give voice to that. I think to your
Exactly.
point, it's important to say the capacity of the organization, the goals of the organization need to be identified. Like if that is your purpose to put out that global festival,
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine. It just needs to be clear that you are meeting the criteria. Like, how do we express that is really what we're talking about. How do we make that really clear? You know, what questions need to be asked to promote that kind of transparency?
Yeah.
Can there be a question that, and I also put this in the chat, that like we can write about a program, either like multiple, like separate things we've done during the year to show that it's sustained in different ways. Like if you're doing art, but like maybe you do a certain performance in the beginning of the year and you change it and do something different at the end of the year. Or if you have something that's reoccurring, you can prove that I have done this reoccurring festival for the last 3 years or however long, so that the people who are doing festivals can say, yes, it is sustained, like it's a 3-day thing, but we do it every year. So we are committed to continuing this type of thing. And then you allow for that kind of nuance in organizations that maybe don't have the capacity to do a festival and separate programming throughout the year. I think too, in terms of I just want to jump back to the communities of color led by people of color for the organizations. So I don't know if this is, I'm sure it's not just something that we're dealing with in Tucson, but in terms of like the Mexican community and the Spanish here, and because the Arizona consensus in the 1900s decided if you were Spanish, you were white, so that they could justify Arizona being a state, that like I'm brown, like I'm Filipino Mexican, but like if you're to ask somebody else on my board if they're brown, like I don't know that they would say they are. They'd say they're Spanish. And under the United States, that's considered white because they're European. But if you ask them the lineage of their family, they're going to tell you about Tucson and Mexico. So I think that's like a designation there that allowing 51% or even saying 60% allows for some of those board members who maybe like haven't had that sort of like cultural education or haven't thought about like where do I sit in these really hard to understand spaces, when a lot of us tend to overlap. We're not just one thing, we're a mixture of things.
Okay, appreciate that. Yes, thank you. I'm going to ask another question before we go to break. And that is, in terms of the application process itself, how would a 2-part application process, which includes screening and the full application, be the most efficient approach for both applicants and West staff? Do you like that idea of that initial screen and then the ability to be invited back to do that, all that extra, you know, I don't want to say extra work, but the work of a full application, because we all know it's a lot of work. So what do you think about that 2-part?
I have to say I was so highly impressed by the Arts Here application process.
Okay.
It was spectacular. And I say that considering that I was thinking of applying for and I'm educated. Okay. And despite being educated, I decided it was not worth the trouble to apply for a National Endowment for the Arts grant, because it is so tedious and time consuming. And what was wonderful, I don't know how West staff and the other regional arts organizations managed it. Simplicity of getting to the heart of what an organization is, what it does, what its needs are. If this grant could be similar to that,
Yes, okay.
in terms of the simplicity of the questions that get to the heart of it, seriously, that was like a gold standard of an application process
That's huge.
for the arts here. And any way that it could be not replicated, but moved towards that direction would be very helpful.
Thank you. Okay. Norma, I'd love to hear from you about this.
Yes, I was gonna say I agree 100% with her because you know, like so far we have written a couple grants, right? And some are, you know, very well, they're simple, but they go straight to the point, right? That what you're applying for, if you have how to prove, you know, how you will use the funds and everything. Because I have filled out other grants and they're like, I don't know, 20 pages that you have to do. And it's a lot of work. And it's sometimes they're repeating the same question. And it's like, didn't just, you know, I answered the question, but they're asking me again, you know, what am I missing? And sometimes, you know, it takes a long time, you know, to do it. And I was also going to say, is there any way that these applications can be in both languages? Well, you know, like Spanish, but also people who speak, you know, Tongan or people who speak other languages, so they can be available, because a lot of times, you know, for me, especially being a second language, for me, it's like, okay, I have to, you know, to figure it out exactly, especially the terminology, right? What it is. So I was going to say, if I was to add a comment, is, you know, to have it in your, you know, in other languages, but also be simple and be able that we understand, right? Because a lot of us, for me personally, right, I don't know much about, you know, like, for example, you, right? Compared to me, I don't know much about it. I'm just learning and I'm going to school to learn more about, you know, community leadership and everything, but still, it's a lot of work. So I will appreciate if it was more, you know, simple, but straight to the point, and also not to be too long. Too long. Yes, thank you.
Of course. We have to go to break, and then we can come back and finish up this question, because it looks like others have something to say, and I want to make sure we hear from folks that want to say something about this. Is that true? How many minutes do we have, Lena?
We have 10 minutes, so please be back 47 minutes after the hour.
Thank you. See you back. Enjoy your
Yes,
break.
and please feel free to write in the chat if you have ideas during the break. This is amazing. Thank y'all.
Okay, everybody, come on back.
Whoops. Hi, everyone. Okay, did anyone have, I see things in the chat. Does everyone feel like they had a response to that last question?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
can I just one little thing?
Please, Yvonne, yes.
I've done a couple of grant applications where they've been 2 rounds like this. And for, I think one was NEA and the other one was the National Dance Project. And the first one with the National Dance Project, the first section was pretty easy. And then the second section, it was a lot of work. Oh my God, it was insane. Sorry, I have the kid home making food in the background. But they knew that it was going to be a heavy lift. And so everyone that made it to the finalists, they gave a stipend to for their time. So if West Staff does think it is appropriate to have a very robust second round of application, write the 20 pages and the days and days on end of writing and getting all this information in, that is something to consider that maybe would offset. So we felt fine investing that much time and energy into it. They also offered us a coach, but we felt fine doing that because we knew that there would be some type of monetary compensation for the time that went into it. So I just want to offer that as an option.
So you had a coach and a stipend? I just want to make sure I understand for
We had the people that made it to the final round had a coach that I think I met with our coach 3 or 4 times. I don't remember, it's been a while, so I don't remember like how often they provided that. It was an outside person that was giving us feedback that was hired by NDP to do that. And then we also got the stipend. And even if we received the grant, which we did, we still received the stipend for just applying. Everyone who made it to the final, awardees and those that were rejected, got the stipend, just to be equitable because it was a hefty lift.
Thank you. Okay.
But I have to say that, yes, coaches might be nice, but regardless of any kind of stipend, it wouldn't benefit our organization. And since we're doing this for the sake of our organizations, that it has to be the simpler, the better, to make it accessible to small organizations who have very little capacity. There's no way, no matter what, considering all of our multiple organizations, that a stipend would make it worth it for me to spend so many hours.
Okay, let's think about that concept a little bit and think about, well, if that time, I understand the time, let's talk about the questions that would make it least burdensome. So understanding that there is a recognizable type of information that applications require, what types of questions do you think would be least burdensome to get your objectives across, but still be very concise and to the point? You know what I mean? To be able to provide information for an application, but that it's not as much of a heavy lift, but still, meets the objective. Do you think there's certain questions that would fulfill that?
There's one grant that I recently completed a couple of months ago, and it consisted, I think, of only 5 questions. And because it was only 5 questions, I'll take a moment really quickly to read them because they were really simple, but so effective. 1, describe the general programming and activities of your organization, including how these activities align with the priorities of the field you're applying in. Okay. Number 2 was diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is your organization's commitment to issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion? And how do you demonstrate that through your work? The other one was, how does your organization demonstrate accountability to the communities you serve? Okay. And then how representative are the staff and board in relation to the community you serve? And then the last question was, how do you measure the success of your work? What stories, evidence, or information helps you know you are achieving your goal? And that was it.
How much was the grant worth? Can I ask?
I'm sorry?
How much was the amount that you were applying for that? Can I ask?
This one was, I think it's up to $20,000. for a local, those are the questions asked by Albuquerque Community Foundation. I don't know if I got it, whatever, it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is I actually enjoyed answering the questions.
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
they were only 5, but they captured everything that we're talking about because they've had issues in the past with,
See, one thing, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Please go ahead.
yeah, no, they've had issues in the past with diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yes.
They had to alter their questions to make sure that people could answer accurately.
Okay. What I appreciate so much about what you brought up, and I want everyone to give this a little bit of thought, is how much was embedded in those 5 questions. They weren't simple questions, and they weren't yes and no answers, and they weren't like quick numbers that you had to put in. You had to really provide very thoughtful responses that were very,
And very short.
involved.
It was
Yes,
only
but-
2,000 characters.
So that's pretty amazing because there's a lot that needs to be packed into those 5 questions. So I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing, Maritza. Very much appreciate it.
I had a comment.
Yes.
So, so I personally like the 2 per application. There's only 2 people in my organization who write grants.
Okay.
And so it allows us to better manage our time. Like there are grants we've applied to that we've submitted like 20 pages worth of things, and then we've been rejected. And that was time we could have spent on another grant that maybe we would have gotten. And I think these kind of shorter, like here's just an interest document, and then if we like it, we'll go through, allows us to better manage our time as small organizations that sometimes have people that aren't even getting paid to write these grants.
Right. Well, what about alternative forms of applications?
Yes,
Let's talk about that for a second.
I applied for one of them. I haven't done it, but one offered like a video option, and like
Okay.
you can meet with somebody on their staff and just verbally tell them, and then they would
You
write
meet-
it in doc for
So
you.
they provide the filmmaker. Is
Mhm.
that right? The
Yeah, you would
videographer.
schedule a Zoom meeting with them, like at a time that works for you, and then you could like pre-write down your answers, and you would just tell them like answers to the questions that are on there, and then they go and they transcribe them. And that's for people
Wow.
who maybe don't have good, like, and they could also do it over the phone. Like if you don't have good internet access and you think that maybe your internet's not going to last long enough to submit it, they'll allow you to do the alternative option, which we didn't use, but I also really like.
Okay. How does everyone
Like
else
a-
feel about that?
Like
Dayo, yes.
a verbal application, is that what that is?
A recorded
if-
one? Yes, verbal,
Recorded
sure.
one? I think that's really great because now that you mentioned that, Ricky, because some of the problem we face here in Idaho is that everything is so strict and quick or whatever. Like you have to when they even put out the arts grants and stuff like that, they don't have any immigrants or new Americans applying. They're not interested because they don't understand, they don't get it. And it's really true because they're trying to get them, but this video thing, I think it's really great. I like the idea actually.
Okay. Well, then speaking to your point, Dayo, what about technical assistance? So for the new immigrants, for example, and
exactly.
you all use this concept in your own organization.
Yes.
But what kind of technical assistance would you need for an organization like yours then to be able to put together an application
Okay.
for your people? You know what I mean? For the people that don't
Exactly,
speak
yeah.
English as a first language.
Yeah, I think example is what Ricky just mentioned, because I didn't even know that existed. Like you can have somebody ask them the questions, and then have a translator or
Okay.
interpreter with them
Okay.
that will tell
Yes.
them and they will reply, and then it gets transcribed.
Yeah.
Because I think that will actually bring in more applicants,
Okay.
because some of these people, their English is not great. They speak
Mhm.
French, is their first language,
Yes.
so they get here, they're artists, they're all this thing, they struggle. So they come to someone like us, we have to help them write the grants,
Okay.
even though we're not getting paid for it. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, like because you're trying to serve, help these people.
Mhm.
So, but technical assistance, like something like that would be great, but hopefully, if it's accepted,
Well,
by
sure. Well,
Yeah.
no, that's what we're here to talk about,
exactly. So
Let's just say it's gonna be accepted. Just talk about it.
yeah, I really believe that's
Yes.
it.
Norma, I'm waiting for you.
Yes, I'm next. So I was going to say, is there a possibility that you can do a tutorial, like
Okay.
for a grant, because a lot of times it's like, okay, and you tell us, you're expected to use, I don't know, 10 hours for this grant writing, right? And also like a little steps how we can do it more effectively, because in examples and also like testimonies. I don't know if this is going to be the first time, I don't know so much about it, but I was going to say like, if somebody already applied and they got it, like to testimonies like about how they did it and stuff like that, because that help us. For me, I like more visual things, right? And like if I see something, for me it's better. But I was going to say I will add that, a tutorial or testimonies about how they completed and how successful they were, and also the things they did wrong, right? Or we do wrong, because a lot of things, it's good when they can tell you, in a good way, right? You did something wrong. How can you get better at it?
So then, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know
Sorry,
if you said
sorry. No,
something.
no, no. I'm thinking of other grant programs that I've applied to that have parallels. Like, what can we learn from them? What do they do well, and what do we want to throw away? So Dance USA and their fellowship to artists, they hire the fellows. I was one of the first cohort fellows. They hire us back to be coaches and to help. So to what Norma was saying,
Okay.
testimony. So I meet with them and I tell them this is what I did to get it. And so that empowers them, the applicants, to, they can meeting with me is optional, right? But I will share with them, this is exactly what I did to get my application. So that testimony is helpful.
Absolutely. Is it for
and
people
then-
that did get the funding that come back as mentors? Okay.
Yeah. So so they invite us back as coaches, and we get paid for our time, and we work with the people that are applying, that have made it to the second round already.
Okay.
And that are applying, and they have the option they opt in, and then we can tell them this is what we did as like a coaching.
Right. That's great.
That may work for like a second round, right? With this. And then the other thing that I tell funders that I know, I'm like, oh my goodness, couldn't we just write in bullet points? Like, do we have to? I mean, a lot of the funders that here in Arizona already use the video. It's either written or video, so that's already a thing. But sometimes with the character count and thinking of those 5 questions that Maritza shared, that is a lot. So like, can we write in bullet points? Can we just do dot and like all that other fluff takes up so much space. So that was just a random thought.
So then what topics or skill sets would be the most beneficial to cover in the technical assistance component? So I appreciate these examples, but is there some sort of, series or, what would help you in terms of technical assistance, like lessons learned from what Norma said, what Yvonne's talking about in terms of, this is what worked for me. Anything else come to mind that we can think of for technical assistance that would help in terms of a training or a, Norma also talked about a tutorial of some sort. What else do you think would be helpful? I'm really thinking of Daya, your community too. Non-English language speakers, really small, just newly immigrated, asylum seeking refugees, like, what's going to encourage them to apply?
The Mellon Foundation offers office hours where if you are applying and you have have already received a grant and you have a question, you can just like hop onto their office hours and like, hey, I'm really confused about this one thing. And then you can get like a real person answering you, not just an email. Cause I've definitely had questions about grants and I like haven't gotten an email back for a week. And when you're up against a deadline, that's really tough.
Okay. So, I mean, think about it, Dio, because I'm going to ask another question and it'll come to you, but you have something? Go ahead. You're on mute though.
Oh.
You're on mute. You're muted, Dio.
Thank you. No, I said just for us, it's become a second nature that people come to us and we just sit down and, talk to them and try to help them, transcribe what they're saying into it, to answer the grant questions, to be able to get them to apply. Even like this artwork behind me, this guy speaks French, his English is getting better now. But year after year for the Adult Commission on the Arts here, me and my partner always help them fill out the grants thing. So it becomes second nature. So I'm thinking for these people, technical assistance, I think even an interpreter that will be able to translate, because again, we can't have all, like I mean, our applications, no,
Can you
different
do me a big
languages.
favor, please? In the
Yes.
chat, can you list the languages that you're
Okay.
dealing with? I
Okay.
mean, please answer your question, but I
Yeah.
just want to make sure we have that captured, please,
Thank you.
also.
Thank you. Yeah.
And Norma, you had a response. I'm sorry. I think I saw your face. Like,
Yes, yes. So adding to what he was saying is just like for my nonprofit organization, like not just that we have like a translator for that, but in Oaxaca we have like 16 etnias. So different, so they don't speak Spanish, they don't speak English, they speak their own language,
Okay.
right? And sometimes when they come again, Spanish is their second language, and then English is the third language, right? So is there any way, like, I don't know, somebody speaks, native, I guess, like, native tongue, right? Or something like that. Like if there is an option. And also because keep in mind, a lot of, many of us know about technology, but many of them don't know, they don't know what a
So-
social media is or.
Okay. So how do we help those people?
Yeah,
So,
I was.
dialects. So we need translation for dialects and native tongue. Perfect. But what about, the technology issue? How do we help with that?
Yeah, and I was gonna say because like many of our members, like they know how to use Facebook, right, or Instagram and stuff like that, but sometimes they don't know what OneDrive is, right? Or sometimes when you have to update, let's say your forms or something like that, and for me it's difficult. In the beginning it was very difficult, but my husband, he is very he knows a lot about technology, so he's the one who told, who was able to teach me, and now I'm more, I'm grateful because I'm able to do it now. I how to, upload in a file that I need to send, or the W-9, or, any other form. So if again, there is like a tutorial, a simple tutorial, you don't know how to, upload these documents. This is how we do it, right? And maybe also in their, in our language, in Spanish or whatever. So I think that will be good. And if you don't know how to use it, these simple steps that you can do it or something like that. Yeah. So thank you.
Of course. So question about impact and sustainability. In your view, what are the top 3, let's say, biggest challenges arts organizations of color face in achieving long-term sustainability?
I'll go first. I guess. Okay. So the first challenge we do is the funds for us. Okay, funds. It's difficult to get funds because just many, for my experience, some people don't trust what you're doing, right? And especially because you're a small nonprofit, they wanted to see a lot of big things that you've done, and we've done it, right? And I have applied for a couple grants, and I have shown what we have, accomplished, and they're giving us, those funds. But I was gonna say, for me, it's like funds, it's one of the challenges. Also, the language, just because we don't speak, perfect English, sometimes that's a barrier, right? And it's just, I wanted to express everything. I can tell you everything in Spanish, really, and I would, but for me it's difficult, and it's just, and again, I am emotional too, so it's more difficult. So yeah, so that for me those are the main ones that it is, funds and language.
So outside of funding, which we all know is a big issue, and no, I appreciate what you said, Norma, but let's also think about the top 3 things anyone else would like to contribute in terms of top 3 barriers that you think are the biggest challenges that you all face in aside from funding. What do you think?
I mean, yes, and because I think that my number 2 is connected to GOS funding. Because so I know you said no funds, but I just want to say GOS funding because project grants, and I saw someone put in the chat, I think it was Ricky, grants that don't allow for people administering their grants to be paid because it's a project grant, but also the organizational capacity. The limit of organizational capacity. And I reckon, at least for dance, right, coming from the genre that I'm working in, that is directly tied to geographic inequities. because
Okay.
dance centers exist on the coast, and we have a dance center in New York, and we have a dance center in like the Bay Area. But there's just, we don't have in Southern Arizona any foundations that support the arts. And so that, like, how do we sustain everything that we've acquired, especially if it's tied to grant funding? So the capacity, not even to grow, but the capacity to sustain staff, to sustain artists is really, and the geographic disparities are tied to that is a challenge.
Okay.
But again, it's directly tied to funding. So
Right.
there's that.
Okay. As you think of other things, please put them in the chat, but I do want to ask you about the timeline then of the grant application. Does that seem to be, appropriate? Does it feel like you have enough time at the beginning, for the application process to gather the material? I mean, like, is that whole grant's life cycle appropriate to you? The timing?
I think getting the questions,
Compared to what? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
Compared to what? I mean, what you're saying,
So the question is, do you think the program timeline, which includes the application, the deadlines, the grant disbursement, those kinds of things, are they realistic, and do they allow for effective implementation?
So just to review a bit, the part 1 will open on May 20th, then close in about mid-June. You'll get to hear if you are asked to part 1 to part 2, and then in July it is about a month.
Oh, yeah.
Each phase is about a month. Let me stop walking.
I
just so
think
you
that's
guys don't.
great, actually. Yeah.
And then we're looking at and we would be starting with the monthly check-ins from October, November. November is when we'd start like the cohorts, early November. And there's more to the timeline that you've got in the slide deck in terms of like when the retreats are and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of specifically having about a month-ish, and Josh, if I have it wrong, please let me know, for each part. How does that sound? Is that a quick, I see Yvonne is saying, quick turnaround.
And that's the kind of thing that we want to know about. Recognizing that you are small arts organizations.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you in terms of the timeline, And yeah, Marisa.
I was going to say that I appreciate that timeline because it's a quick turnaround so that we can apply, get it over, know if we got it or not. That's fabulous. And I also want to give kudos because, and this ties in with organizational capacity. The fact that it's a 2-year grant, say hallelujah to that, because literally, we're having to spend so much time writing grants. It's like being on a treadmill that you're afraid you're going to fall off. To be able to continue finding the funds to serve the community, even though we don't even have the organizational capacity to have any paid staff or anything. It's like, it's a rat race, but we stay in it because we're passionate. And so the fact that it's a 2-year saves us time from having to apply again for the same thing. But this will probably come up later, but I was going to say in terms of time-wise, something to be very considerate about for those who wind up being invited and who get the application, to be also considerate of their time. Because oftentimes as people of color, grants are tied in with so much research that we do feel kind of like lab rats, like, okay, like we're not being trusted to do the good work or given sufficient time to do the good work because we're having to prove our worth, even, through every step of the research. And it's like, okay, how many hundreds of years of research have to go into our so to be considerate of that. So that
Yeah,
it doesn't
burden.
become so time consuming when we barely have the capacity even to apply for a grant.
Okay. Message received. Absolutely. I get that. Someone have a hand up. It doesn't, you don't have to raise your hand. Anyone else have something they want to say about that?
No, I mean, I think I say, yeah, that's actually pretty good, pretty good. I think it's you know, it's a good timeline, and
Okay.
for people, you know, to know where they are, or there's no suspense here. So yeah, I think it's great, actually.
Okay. Timing, good.
I
So-
think like we don't have the questions yet, so we're also like hoping that there's just not a lot of questions. I think if you came out and you were like answer 50 questions, we would be like a month is way too short for that. But I think
Okay.
if we're expecting like this
Ricky.
this application will take you maybe like 8 to 10 hours. Can you pace that over a month? That's a little bit more doable. Like a
Well, see, that's
conspiracy-
tricky, right? I mean, I appreciate you saying that, but then I think about all the individual differences. I'm a researcher, so that's the term that I think of, like language barriers or capacity of staff. So what might take one organization 8 hours might take another one 15. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's a tricky thing to quantify for folks to say it'll, you know, range between 5 and 20 hours for you to complete this application.
And well, maybe too, like, I think it is helpful that you're giving us the questions like earlier, like if you're applying for the one and then we can start to prepare like, hey, what is our schedule for June and July? If I get accepted, will I have the capacity to be able to apply for this? And then I think that allows us as organizations to make a decision of like, even if we get accepted, like, hey, we really just can't.
Right. And how much? Okay, got it. So what's that lead time? When you get that, you know, when you move forward past that first initial step, how much time do you have so you can plan? That's good. I appreciate that comment, you know, to be able to give you that kind of timeline.
And length of the answers, I think, is also really important because like I've applied to things where they want thousands of words and that is a lot more time consuming. Like if it's too short, that's a problem because then we got to get really creative in how we answer. But I think there's also a sweet spot in there of like, where can the majority of people fit everything they need in there, but we're also not requesting a 10-page paper from an organization.
So you want to know what's the word limit?
Yes.
Okay. Yvonne, you were saying something.
Yeah, I think I'm the odd person out because I think that a month is a really short window. I would personally, for my organization, I know that 6 weeks would be great.
Okay.
Just because that's a very quick turnaround. So I think a 6-week window for both the first one and the second one. Anything beyond that, sometimes you get 3-month windows and then that's just too much. You forget about it, right?
Okay.
So nothing that crazy. But I also want to emphasize what Ricky said. If it is too short, I will spend hours editing things down, keep all the content in there, like what space can I delete and what acronym can I use, right? So not too short, but yeah, not too big, which is why I was like, can we just write in bullet points for the first section so that we can like just get the content out there? So yeah.
Well, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate for that, Yvonne, because there are buzzwords. You know, it's easy for organizations to put in wellness, social responsibility, and like, do we know that you know what that means? Or, you know what I mean? How do you actualize that? I'm just playing a devil's advocate. You know, the idea of a bullet point, I think, is really good for succinct, you know, types of offerings, but to capture the nuance of what you do in dance to address that, we want to know about that, you know? So will a bullet point address how you do it through dance? You know, that's really
even,
what I'm...
yes, and some of the character counts and the word counts that we're getting right now don't even allow for the space anyway.
So maybe
like, do you know what I'm saying? So I'm already trying, like I explained with lots of words at the beginning, like all the multifaceted ways in which my organization works. Having to pare that down even into like a small, short 2,000 character count is really challenging. So yes, you're right. We can plug in a bunch of buzzwords, but it's already like that in my experience. Like we're already dealing with that.
Okay.
So I don't know how it would be any different. It would just cut down all the fluff that I'm having to put around the words.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maritza.
I like the idea of having the chance to tell our stories.
Okay.
But, you know, we can write a novel or we can write a short story. And there are ways to I think it's helpful when we are challenged, even as organizations, of like, okay, we can go on and on and on and on and on about what we do, but to force us to think about the importance and the essence of what we do, I think that is really helpful. It's hard,
Yeah, it is hard.
but it has helped me. And I'm a writer, I'm a novelist, I'm not a short story writer, but I have appreciated those grants that say, like the 5 questions I offered earlier were 3,000 characters each. That's less than a page per question, but it forces us to confront the priorities of what we do and why. And I think that clarity is also helpful for the judges, so they don't get bored.
That was my, yes. That's my
Reading
next
bullet
question.
points would drive any poor judge, or evaluator crazy.
So
as someone who sits on a lot of grant panels, I wholeheartedly disagree, because right now, the way that you have to read through those applications, sometimes you can't find the answer to the question because the applicant just responded a bunch of fluff. And you're trying to find, like, there was specifically asked, like, what is the importance? And you're searching through and you can't find it. If it were bolded or bulleted, I would easily be able to draw my eye and be like, this is the meat of what they're talking about. So I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I feel like there's a better, maybe bullet points isn't the way to do it, but I feel like there's a better way to get the clarity across. I also want to share that I've recently written a few grants that had 0 character limits, 0 word limits. And I found that I was averaging about 300 to 500 words on those. I wasn't going into this crazy novel, because who has the time to do that anyway, when I was writing those so there's also that. There's also some funders that are shifting to the model of unlimited word and character counts.
Right. Okay.
But I was going to say that that's where the character count comes in handy, because it doesn't allow for the fluff. When it's like, 3,000 characters, you have to say what is important. You're not allowed to go in circles and circles and circles. So, maybe something between bullet point and a character count that allows story, but to discount one or the other completely may not be the way to go about it.
So some of what I'm hearing is really like, how do we prepare folks in the info sessions, in office hours, in having sort of paid application coach or some folks that can support people to say the very things, to help them think about the very things that you're talking about. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. And so part of what I was going to ask is the community aspect of evaluating, like, do you think there needs to be some sort of peer review process among, groups like yours in order to, like the panel process that you're talking about? Yvonne, you're nodding.
Yes, I think that's important, because I know that in dance, we define artistic excellence based on my community of practice. And that's not necessarily like the mainstream definition. So if we were to do like, even just like the people that are in this call, if we all wrote our applications and did peer reviews amongst each other, I think that we'd find a lot of value in that. Figuring out like how to make things pop, what's the most important thing to highlight, because I feel like this group would understand more like the aesthetic choices I'm making or the communities I'm serving, so I think that giving applicants the ability to define who is their community, if we're asking, I know sometimes NEA funding is tied to those questions of like merit, and there's another funny question they always have to ask, allowing the community to self-define what those things mean, and describe that. It's really important. So yeah, any type of peer review I think would be really beneficial.
Okay, Norma, thank you, Yvonne. Norma, I thought you were going to say something. Did I?
Yes. No, that's fine. Thank you. So yeah, I guess what I wanted to add is, who is going to evaluate your, these applications? Is it going to be people like us, or is it going to be people who, maybe all Americans, I don't know, or is, because what it is like, you know, especially with this kind of grant is for, you know, people of color, right? So it will be great to have, you know, not just professionals, but you know, be able to have the community be able to judge, right? Because, you know, maybe you exactly understand what I'm saying, but other, you know, other people might not, right? So I was thinking just to involve the community, right? To ask, you know, somebody, strange people in, you know, or something, I don't know. And just to say, you know, if you were to evaluate this, you know, how will you feel to have, you know, because you will be involved in the community, but also you will be able to, you know, to know what they think, right? And everything else. So if it is important, you know, for this nonprofit to get it or something like that. So it will be who is evaluating, you know, the what you wanting to do.
Do you
right?
think that
With
this group should also create the criteria for whether or not it, you know, so they're evaluating it, but are they coming up with the rubric, you know, or the, you know, the rules for what is going to be passing on to get funding and what isn't?
Yes, I
Being
think
done
so.
by the community too?
Yes, because especially like I say, you know, each one of us, you know, is passionate about what we're doing and everything, and it's just like it will be great to also have that
Okay, thank you.
information. So thank you.
Marita, of course, thank you, Norma. Is that a legacy hand or do you have something else? to
Oh,
say?
that was a legacy hand, but I'll just say really quickly.
Please.
Yeah, that may be a good idea, but it all depends on time commitments
Yeah.
because, like I said, small organizations, we are so overtaxed.
Yes, yes. Okay, yes, Ricky.
Sorry. So and I think this is just from experience I had. When I was in undergrad, I was in this like summer research thing, and they put me with a bunch of science people as a history person, and all those people edited my papers. And I think that like as somebody who was on the fringes of that group, then I got a bunch of advice that was like not even relevant to me. So I think a little bit of my worry there too with partnerships is like making sure people are partnered together who are relevant, because like if I'm writing about like the specific like oral history project that I have and somebody who's editing it has never like participated in that, I think the types of feedback you're going to get are very different.
Thank
And
you.
I
That's
don't
really
want people
important.
to be swayed to go a
Yes.
direction that is not going to get them the grant.
Thank you for that. Dayo, you look like you want to say something. Or that you're thinking about saying something.
I'm thinking, but I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. So my next question, how can West staff ensure transparency and clear communication with all stakeholders involved in this program? What do you need to hear from them?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. How can West staff ensure transparency and clear communication with all stakeholders involved in this program? What do you need from them?
The evaluation rubric and how many points everything is weighted. Names of panelists. How many grants were received and how many grants were funded?
From the past competitions? Okay.
Yeah, and when the announcement's released for whoever gets it this time. I think those are things to start with.
Yvonne M, are you saying while you are, or before you've submitted your application, knowing who the reviewers are?
No, usually, when does those things usually get announced? I feel like they get announced after, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that standard practice is to say who the people on the panel were as the announcements are made. So I think that's fine. But if there's coaches, yeah, that's fine. I think just that's, standard practice. If there's coaches, the names and bios of the coaches and how they're available, if West staff chooses to go in that route, so that people can say, to Ricky's point. And I think that the coaching, with Dance USA works because we're all in dance. So we know it's all the same field. It may not translate to something as big as this, but to Ricky's point, if there are coaches, I'm in the performing arts, there's not a dance person, but there's a theater. Maybe I want to go to them for advice because it's closer than a muralist or an oral history project, right?
Yeah. And I don't know why this is always a problem for me to remember to say, and just to make sure that everybody knows, this is not a project-based program. It is general operating. So if that wasn't clear, my apologies. Yeah.
I'm really glad for that. I think too with the transparency, like just having everything posted online up front, like here's what the rubric is. Here is, because some of them have like a point system. I'm applying to one right now where it's like, oh, if you match it by 1, you get 1 point. And if you match it times 2, you get 5 points. And I'm like, out of how many points though? Like that's really arbitrary to me. It just, if you don't have money, that makes it really hard because you feel like you're already at such a disadvantage. If I had the rubric, I'd be like, oh, I can make it up here. The Arts Foundation for Southern Arizona and Tucson, at the end of their evaluation period, will post a list of like the people who they had review the grant for that year so that you can kind of get a feel of making sure. And I think it also makes sure that we can hold them accountable, like, hey, they are bringing in a diverse group of people to edit these applications. It's not just all performing arts people or all culture people, like the museum people or something like that. And it makes sure it's inclusive.
Okay. Maritza.
It's a follow-up question to what Anika just announced, which yay from all of us that it's general operating. But also I had a question about the funding. So it's about 35,000 per 2 organizations per state. Is that 35,000 divided over 2 years? Or is it 35,000 per year?
This is
clear on that.
Thank you for that, Maritza. This is something that, it's always good to get feedback on. We know that we want the bulk of the first payment, like the bulk of the grant to be in the first payment, and perhaps at final report it's the last bit, and we're even thinking about like deconstructing final report. There's been some conversation about how that could look really, really different as we look to video document this program and so on. So yeah, so that's kind of, I can't see it being more than 2, and maybe I'm not sure, but but more than me trying to say like, this is what it is, I'd love to know what y'all think would work best for you.
I'm sorry, I'm confused because I was understanding that Maritza was asking if it's 35K each year of the funding period. And it sounds like, Anika, you're saying that you're talking about money disbursement, like getting the majority of the grant all up front and then a percentage at the end when the final report is due. But I don't know if the question about the amount over the 2 years was answered.
Oh, my apologies it is up to 34,000. At this point, it is up to 34,000 period. It is a multi-year program in the sense that, there's activity over the course of 2 years. And so that's where I was kind of wanting to hear, like, in terms of disbursement, what y'all think of that in terms of your budgets and so on.
No, and that's very helpful because I think the bulk of it at the beginning, even if some of that winds up being used during the second year, it would just be helpful for a small organization to be able to determine how much funds it has on hand. And it may not need the bulk of it for the first year, but was it? I don't know. I was in some meeting yesterday. I think it was with WestStaff. I've been in too many meetings that I don't even remember, but it's hard to even estimate what it was a WestStaff meeting. It's even hard to estimate what.
Yeah, you were at Tour West.
Yes, exactly. Like a simple question like, what is the budget for this current year? And I couldn't even answer that because since it all depends on grants and funds coming in, like I cannot say what next year's budget is going to look like. So to be able to get the bulk of it ahead of time so that we can determine how those funds are going to be used, as needed by our organization, whether it's, okay, we need it all for this year, or it serves us better to save some of that for next year. I love that. It would be wonderful to have that trust-based budgeting, allowed to us.
Also, would this grant allow for us, like if we do get the bulk up front, do we have to spend that all in the 1 year? Or would you guys be flexible with, if we don't spend all of that chunk we got in the first year, that we could kind of flex some of that over to the second year?
I think that your recommendation is what I'd be wanting to hear. We don't have a decision on that, and
Yeah, I think that is and depending on, right, like who it is that's getting funded as part of this, like how much they get or when they get, might change that. If I think saying half and half, then people get to the end of maybe that first year, like they're being conservative in the first part of the year, and at the end, then there's this rush to spend all this money. At least if there's a little bit of flexibility of like, maybe we're saying we're giving you 75 up front, but we want to see you've at least spent 50% by the end of the first year. If you spend 75% by the end of the first year, then that's okay, but we need you in this range. I think that gives the flexibility that Maritza was talking about for the smaller organizations.
thank you. Lots of food for thought. We are just 2 minutes over time. Thank you, Lena, for dropping the survey link in the chat. Please, 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 tell us about this night or this session, this roundtable, how you felt about it. There's a feedback survey link right there. If you could do that now, that'd be amazing. There is an open space at the end if there's like some final thought that you have. All of you have been sent the payment form. I'll send it again as a reminder in case you didn't complete it yet. Now that you have completed the roundtable, Lena will start to process those. And then you have the slide deck that we shared as well. And we are developing a playlist of all of the roundtables. So you will have access to that link as well. I'll make sure you get that, so that if you wanna dip into what some others have said. We do have one more on May 7th, which focuses on the Pacific. And so if you wanted to attend as an observer, absolutely welcome. We do hope to just share back the survey feedback and some finer points that we got after we complete all of this, just to you all roundtable participants. But thank each of you. This has been a really powerful session, and thanks so much to Yvonne for shepherding it. Thanks Josh and Lena for your chat work. Really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Have a great
Thanks,
night.
everybody.
Thank
Have
you,
a good night.
everyone. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Lena, did you see my message about Yvonne?
Thank you so much.
I did not.
Okay, she doesn't have the thank you.
Okay,
She doesn't have
that survey.
she doesn't have the debrief for tomorrow. She doesn't have the link.